Hey, welcome to the show. Welcome. It is Friday, March 31st, 2023. So, the big news, of course, yesterday was the Trump indictment. And there's nothing new that I can't tell you about that because obviously the indictment is not out. But I would like to know where you were when you heard the news. So that's definitely going to be something that you're going to remember for a long time. And I remember I was in the kitchen. I got home about 5-ish, and my wife was starting to cook dinner, and she was watching some Yellowstone episodes. And I said, let's put on the news. And because I wanted to hear about the insurrection at the State House in Nashville, and I thought we were going to hear about that. And then, about 5 minutes, I was watching the Five, on Fox, and we had that on for like 15 minutes or so. And then they broke in with the big breaking news. And I was like, I read the Chiron, and I was like, no way. Because there had been a lot of disinformation coming out of Bragg's office and out of the whole process that, the jury had now taken a month off, and this is all pre-scheduled. And there was a lot of information that maybe Trump had gotten out this and out-snookered Bragg by pre-announcing. I thought that was a brilliant move by Trump. In the end, it didn't work. And in fact, in a way, maybe it backfired. I don't know. Nope, nobody will really know. But I want to know in the comments, where were you when you found out that Trump was indicted? Now, the news last night, everybody had their hot take, right? Everybody had their hot take. Some of the two worst hot takes, one of them was from James Comey. You know him, your friend James Comey. And he types in, "It's been a good day. It's been a good day." He's got a lot of quote. Look at that ratio there. It's been a good day. That kind of reveals to you where he's always been coming from, doesn't it? Yeah, if you're a cheerleader, if you're supposed to be now, I know he's not with the federal government anymore, and he can say whatever he wants, First Amendment, all that, good for him. But it does reveal where he has been, maybe, not so overtly, but where his entire attitude has come from for quite some time. Now, that was a pretty bad take, in my opinion. But the absolute worst take, which has been all over Twitter, has been Pelosi's take. And having a little trouble with my vision today. Here we go. Grand jury acted upon the facts and the law because only the prosecutors present to the grand jury. No one is above the law. And everyone has, this is the part that she gets wrong. Everyone has the right to, at trial, to prove innocence. Actually, that's not right. That's not correct, Nancy. That's not how it works. This is not some kangaroo court. This is the United States and Western jurisprudence. Here, you are innocent until proven guilty. You learn that like in third grade or something like that. So hopefully the former president will peacefully respect the system. So that's another a jab that she's making, that he's the violent one, right? Which grants him that right. There is no right. You don't have the right to prove yourself innocent. You are innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to mount a defense, and I'm sure he will, a vigorous defense. And I think at least one or two of his lawyers were on Fox last night, and he will mount a vigorous defense, but he does not have to prove his innocence. The government has to prove his guilt. The government has to prove his guilt. And that seems to be a question of whether or not, obviously, that's why they'll have the trial if we ever actually even get to one. I'm just a little skeptical. There's a lot of times that Fox gets ahead of itself, the network, when they tell you that what's his name was going to win that recall election out in California, and they get ahead of themselves quite a bit. There's a lot of story out there now that this is an accounting issue, And as I said earlier, a couple of videos ago, how do you account for paying off a mistress? What do you write that down? Mistress payoff? I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. But everyone on Fox says that's the essence of the case, is how he accounted for it. But really, nobody knows what the essence of the case is, because we haven't gotten the actual indictment, and this is a really important thing, I think. One of the things you really need to focus upon when you look at politics and everything is what was not said and what did not happen. And what did not happen was a presentation of the facts. Now, I understand that they'll do that at trial. I get that. But this is much, much bigger. From what we understand, they got the bill from the grand jury and kind of went through the back door to the clerk's office to file it, rather than being completely transparent in this process and releasing the indictment right away, and then maybe either releasing a video or having a press conference or something like that, describing in detail why you took that step. Alvin Bragg didn't do that. There's basically just been a one or two sentence statement from the Bragg office. That's it. Nothing else. When you're doing something so momentous that you should have a lack of a better phrase, public relations strategy here to present your case publicly. This has never happened before. This is as Jim Jordan said, it's outrageous. Why he has not actually come? It's almost 10 o'clock here Eastern time. I think that's what it is. Can't even read my clock. 10 o'clock Eastern time. And why he has not actually come out with a statement, release this indictment, have Trump somebody. Why he hasn't actually come? I know, I want to respect the legal process. I don't want to make it a political thing. It's a political thing. It is a political thing. It's a political thing. Now, talk about another. So I don't know, by the way, when we'll actually, if ever, get a public statement from Bragg, which I think he owes the American people, whether you voted for Trump or not or whatever. When you do something this radical, and it is radical, you have to explain yourself publicly, aside from just in the courtroom. All right, so talk about courtrooms. There is another case in New York City going on right now, which I think is incredibly important, and that is the case of Douglas Mackey, a.k.a. Ricky Vaughn, the Twitter troll, basically. And we've spoken about this before. He's posted a meme which directed people to vote by text message, which was a joke. And the prosecution has not been able to actually produce anybody that actually took that seriously and was disenfranchised, right? There's approximately 4,900 people that called the number, allegedly, but they can't actually produce one victim. And the prosecution is saying it doesn't matter if there are any victims. It was Mr. Mackey's intent to deceive, which would be the crime. It's his thought that is the crime. Okay. It's satire. It's a joke. That jury has been hung up without a verdict for about 3.5 days, almost all week. And this is now, they went home. They got sent home last night. Imagine being on that jury, get sent home 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you hear about the Trump indictment 5:30-ish. You're in New York City. There's hardly anybody that can kind of avoid this news, right? Everybody knows about it. And if you're on a jury in New York and you're sitting there, obviously you've probably been directed not to listen to any news reports about the trial itself. But it's really hard to avoid the fact that Trump's got indicted, especially if you're on a jury right now deciding a political case. It's like impossible. So there's got to be at least one person on that jury that is on Ricky Vaughn, Douglas Mackey's side, right? Otherwise, he'd be convicted. And there may even be a majority of people that are on Douglas Mackey's side. It's impossible. Nobody knows, but there's at least one. And you wonder how this Trump indictment is going to affect that trial, whether the person that whether at least one person that's with Ricky Vaughn finds out about the Trump thing. It's almost hard to believe that they wouldn't. And whether that digs their heels in more for Ricky Vaughn or somehow says, no, like, I'll change my vote. But after 3.5 days, and juries come back with different answers, after time. After 3.5 days, that's a long time to deliberate. I know they're not there, totally the 8, full. It's not a full work day of deliberations, but it's a long time. After that much time, I don't see how you can flip, and it certainly seems, and I'm hoping that this goes to a hung jury, basically a mistrial. I think the defense has already made a motion for a mistrial, but the judge keeps on sending them back, looking for the answer that he wants, which is a conviction, right? Which is a conviction. So next week is when Trump is going to get indicted, right? Next week is when Trump's going to get, or he's been indicted, but he's scheduled to appear, or at least that is the current conventional wisdom, that he will appear next week. I've been considering going to New York. It's fairly easy for me to get there. I'm interested in whether or not I should go. You type it into the comments. I'm curious. There's a lot of people say, no, it's a trap. On the other hand, like, I think it would be thoroughly fascinating to see it and to be there. Obviously, you can't get in. And if the Mackey trial is still going on next week, yeah, that's like going there for two reasons. Maybe I go there Monday and then the Trump thing's Tuesday. So interested in your comments on that. By the way, one other thing about this whole Nancy Pelosi thing that I forgot to mention. She got, and I love Dave Rubin's take on this, taken up by Community Notes on Twitter. So what Community Notes on Twitter here is, we'll blow it up here. Pelosi mistakenly says Trump can prove his innocence at trial. Law in the U.S. assumes the innocence of the defendant and the prosecution must prove guilt. So Twitter Community Notes kind of took Pelosi at task. Yet Dave Rubin, very smart here, Dave Rubin, notes that it's interesting that Community Notes says Pelosi mistakenly says, as if they know her intent, right? Look at that statement again under Community Notes. It says, Pelosi mistakenly says. Well, how does Twitter know her intent? Right? How does the jury know Mackey's intent? How does Twitter know her intent? Maybe she meant to say it that way. I think she meant to say it that way. Or maybe she just had too many cocktails last night. I don't know. You know who's one of the more loathsome United States senators? It is clearly Lindsey Graham. It's clearly Lindsey Graham. And I just loved this clip from Jesse Waters' show the other day. Let's take a look.
United States Senate just say we're going to protect you from China by spying on you. Let's try to get some answers out of the Senator Lindsey Graham, who supports this and is here now. You got to be kidding me, Senator. Did you read this?
Yeah, I don't think I support the Restrict Act.
You don't support this because you were named as one of the supporters, because this is garbage.
He's a sponsor, but he doesn't support it. Okay, Lindsey.
Well, is this the one with John? There's two bills out there. One allows a review of businesses that are connected to China, give the secretary the ability to protect our data. Is that the Restrict Act?
We got S-686 right here, yeah. March 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a bunch of Republicans supporting it because this thing is crazy town. You don't want the government looking into your private phone.
No, I don't.
If they have a hunch you're colluding with the Russians, we remember how that turned out.
Right. Yeah.
So I think what Jesse's getting at here is this TikTok ban bill is, you've heard this already before, much wider than just banning TikTok. It basically allows the government to do whatever it wants if you're if you're an enemy combatant or an enemy, a force of the, you're some type of enemy of the state, right? Like that Gene Hackman, Will Smith movie. Then the government can do whatever they want. And yeah, it's a power grab, which Tucker had a really good show about earlier this week. Things are going so fast, it's hard to keep track.
Well, the Constitution trumps a statute. So let me come back and, give you a better explanation. Here's the problem as I see it.
Let me come back and give you a better explanation when I know what I'm talking about. All right, Lindsay, just, man, I cannot stand him. Let's go to this story out of Twitter. Uh-oh, look at that. Oh my God, this is classic. I was going to show you this tweet from The Mirror, and apparently it's now been deleted. And this tweet from The Mirror, which is a UK publication, as you can see here, it's been deleted. I just pulled this up on my other computer behind me just a short time ago, but apparently it's now been deleted. And this tweet from The Mirror was indicating that Audrey Hale, the killer from the Nashville shooting just a few days ago, could have been some type of promising young artist. And it basically made Audrey Hale the victim. But you can't see that tweet because apparently now they've deleted it. And this story made her the victim. She had a promising future. Yeah, if it wasn't for those kids who threw themselves in front of the bullets that she shot, right? It's the kids' fault, and the administrators at the it's at the Christian school. It's their fault. That's kind of the Mirror's take on this, which of course you can't see because they've now deleted it. What a horrific and awful take. The only liability is with that person, that woman, she is liable for that horrific killing. Which is just, still, I'm sorry to see it get bumped from the news cycle because I think we need to follow up on that. Yeah, I thought Ted Cruz had a really good quote on that. Let's see if we can bring Ted Cruz up. Here he is.
The number one way to keep our kids safe is having armed police officers at the door. We know this shooter fired through the door, shattered the door with the gun. If there'd been a police officer there, the shooter could have been taken down before a single child was killed. Every single Democrat voted against my bill to double the number of police officers on campuses. By the way, the bill also provided funding to enhance school security, to put in things like bulletproof doors, which she couldn't have shot through. Here's the Democrats' view. They don't want to stop these crimes. If you want to stop these crimes, you'd put cops there to stop these crimes. What they want to do is they want to disarm you. The number one way to keep...
What they want to do is disarm you. They want to disarm you. They don't really want to stop the crime. Because what would Jamal Bowman scream about in the caucus room or whatever that was, the hallway out front of the House chamber? What would he scream about? They don't want to stop the crime. They just want to use that to disarm you. Do you see a trend here? In the same way that they want to ban TikTok, they want to give themselves more power. In the same way they want to solve school shootings, they want to take away your power. Right? This is what everything is about, is how do we use some type of phenomenon or some type of event or some type of trend to move power from you, the citizenry, to them, the swamp. That is the trend, right? Rahm Emanuel, let's not let any crisis go to waste. That's exactly the trend, whether it is the shooting in Nashville, or the whole TikTok thing. And by the way, I'm not for banning TikTok. I came out ahead of that way before all you people had just started to come out ahead of it. All right. So lastly today, want to talk about the worth of college. So, full disclosure, my son went to college, and last August, as you know, drove out to Arizona, all the way here from Massachusetts to Arizona. We had a great road trip. Loved our time in Tennessee. Loving Tennessee. What a great state. And then we dropped him off at college, and 4 months later, he was back, right? That's it. That was it. The whole college thing, boom, done. Smart kid. Of course, he's my kid. Of course, he's smart. But it just wasn't for him. He didn't really like high school all that much. And it's certainly I don't want to say the virus, but our response to the virus the government's response to the virus made liking school harder because it is, the masks and the whole remote school, the whole thing. So now he's back and he's working here in beautiful Plymouth. Actually wants to save up money and actually go back and live in Arizona. He loves golf, and today's actually his first day back at the golf course because the season opens, I think, tomorrow. That's how golf works here. Yeah, April 1st, basically. Not that I golf. I don't golf. Who said that? Golf is a good walk ruined? Walt Whitman, Roy Rogers, somebody like that. Anyways, whether college is worth it, and we have a really interesting poll from the Wall Street Journal, and they had a chart here. Here it is here. Let's bring up the chart. When it comes to four-year college degree, which of the following statements comes closer to your point of view? A four-year college education is worth the cost because people have a better chance to get a good job and earn more income over their lifetime, 42%. Not worth the cost because people often graduate without a specific job, skills, and with a large amount of debt to pay off, 56%. 56%. And notice how that's trending. They lost the majority before the epidemic in 2017. In 2017, it was kind of 50-50, base 49-47. And now, this is going to be a big impact. That's a big impact. If people actually follow through with that, that is a huge financial impact for colleges across the country, universities across the country, and good. I'd love to see them lose in the economic marketplace. Love to see them lose in the economic marketplace. The question is, if college is not worth it, then what do you do? If college is not worth it, then what do you do? Now, I went to American University in Washington, D.C. for 1 year. The only time I've ever lived outside of Massachusetts. I know I got to get out more often. I've traveled a significant amount across the country, but that's the only time I've actually lived for an extended basis outside of Mass. And then I went to UMass Boston, transferred and graduated from UMass Boston. And I think I still lean upon many of the things that I learned in college to support my worldview, even though I went to a lefty school, and I was kind of a lefty at the time, as I've shared with you before. The economics classes that I took and the pre-law classes that I took, wow. Those were really good classes, and I think I formed a fundamental basis of my worldview, which, since we mentioned Dave Rubin earlier, is basically like a classical liberal worldview, which is you do you, I'll do me, and much more like Milton Friedman-esque economics, understanding that the government that governments least governs best. And I'm not a Keynesian or a Keynesian or however you pronounce it. And those lessons really came home for me. And I think a lot of the anxiety, at least that I have, and maybe you have, or if you have kids as well right now. And I think for kids themselves, okay, I'm not going to go to college. I'm not going to work at the golf course for the rest of my life. What the hell do I do? Not that there's anything wrong with working at the golf course for you. That might be a lot of fun. But what do I do? And I think the only real option there is entrepreneurship. in a way, right? Entrepreneurship seems to be unless you want to have some type of job that you really don't want, long term, you've got to either get a trade where you're making something physical or some type of job or some type of business, a trade or entrepreneurship. That's the best way to say it. Trade or entrepreneurship. The simple fact of the matter, delivering education in a 4-year college traditional delivery system is massively inefficient. Except for those fundamental things I learned about law and economics in college, almost everything that I do now, whether how to even work this whole video thing or what I do in my real estate businesses or how I built my website for my businesses, almost everything I learned was from YouTube. I mean, that is the ultimate way, in my opinion. If you want to learn something, you learn it on YouTube. That's how people learn today. Nothing that I learned in college, other than that pre-law in the economics, do I still kind of use with me. And it seems incredibly expensive to use college as a growing up opportunity. There's a lot of other ways to grow up. If you're 19, living on your own is a great way to grow up. Running a small business, whether it's, even just a landscaping, cutting grass or whatever, is a fantastic way to grow up. You don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever the cost is. What I heard, Harvard, $90,000, whatever the cost is to learn. You can actually learn to grow up and be making money at the same time, right? So I'm glad to see the rest of you are coming along to my point of view. It will be interesting to see if Americans actually act on that. There is still a massive amount of middle class pressure, and I hear it from my wife and many, many others, to send your kid to college. Massive amount of pressure. So there'll still be demand for college, obviously. And if you want to go on and be a doctor or a lawyer or some type of science specialty, going to college makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. Otherwise, not so sure about that. If you want to learn about Milton Friedman, you can do that on YouTube. You want to learn about pre-law, you can do that on YouTube. Right? All right. So anyways, that is the update for today. I have a real estate showing, which I have to go do, and that's middle of the day. And then might be back later this afternoon. All right. Thanks for watching. I'm John F. Gately from Plymouth, America's hometown, Massachusetts. Have a great day. Bye-bye.